Welcome back. US President Joe Biden is facing growing outrage this morning after signing an unconditional pardon for his son Hunter.
Yeah, this backflip spares the president's son from jail time after he was convicted of 3 federal gun felonies and tax crimes. For more, we're joined by US Attorney Benjamin Chu live in Washington, D.C. Ben, it's great to see you again. Joe Biden said time and time again that he wouldn't pardon his son. He's now gone back on that promise, but is it really a surprise?
First of all, great to see you, David and Sylvia. Yes, I think it is a surprise. As recently as this weekend, his press secretary was denying that the president would go back on his word and pardon his son, Hunter. So I think it is a surprise.
Well, Hunter was supposed to be sentenced in just a few weeks' time. So what happens now? Is his record scrubbed clean with this pardon?
It's not scrubbed clean, but he will be free of any consequences of the convictions and for a wide range of potential prosecutions dating back to 2014.
So the president made clear in his statement that he believed the convictions were a miscarriage of justice. What's your take on this? Is he right?
No, I think it was unfortunate. I think to the extent that he was going to pardon his son, he should have just said, I am pardoning Hunter Biden. I think by saying that it was unjust, I think he inadvertently casts aspersions on the Justice Department. And I think that does a disservice to the Justice Department and our system of justice.
You know, many have accused the US president and his administration of lying in the lead up to this decision. He's now being accused of sounding just like President-elect Trump as well, who accuses the Justice Department of going after him unfairly as well. So how do you think this move will impact on Biden's legacy?
Sylvia, I think you're exactly right. I think it's going to draw claims of equivalency, which is not something he would have wanted to do. I think there's much of his legacy that is to be admired, but I think this will be a permanent stain on his record. You recall that President Trump pardoned his father-in-law, Charles Kushner, and has since appointed him our ambassador to France. So this is a similar act and even closer to home.
I mean, how many years would he have gotten anyway, Ben?
I don't want to speculate on that, but he did face substantial prison time, even though this is none of these offenses is something that is generally prosecuted.
Right.
And that may be what he was trying to get at when he said that he thought the prosecutions were unjust. But in any event, I don't think it reflects well or will reflect well on his presidency or his legacy.
Yeah, they'll keep talking about what they. Ben, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for your time. Hunter was facing time behind bars, but 2 weeks before his sentence, his father has thrown him a lifeline.
President Biden has pardoned his son, Hunter Biden.
The president's decision expected.
Of course he was going to pardon his son.
But still controversial. Joe Biden writing that he hopes Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision.
Yeah, there's been a big reaction to this decision. So to discuss, we're joined now by Democratic Party strategist Julie Roginski in New York. Julie, thanks for your time on this. So here's the question I suppose a lot of people are asking. Was this a president acting out of love for his son or a misuse of presidential power?
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's not the second because, unfortunately, and I don't support this, it is in our Constitution that we allow presidents to pardon whoever they want for any reason or no reason at all. For a country that fought very hard to get away from a monarch, we seem to have given our presidents a tremendous amount of monarchical power when it comes to these kinds of issues. And so it was not an abuse of power in the sense that, of course, the Constitution allows the president, any president, to do this. It doesn't mean that it's the right decision, but it certainly does mean that Joe Biden did what he could as a father and had the ability to do as a president, which is to allow his son to walk free.
And that's, I think, a lot of the criticism is coming to Joe Biden as well. It seems like if he just said, I'm going to pardon my son Hunter Biden on this, it seems fine. But because he's then said, because he feels like it's claims of selective prosecution, it's sort of putting a slight on the DOJ.
Well, what's interesting is that it's not because he is worried about the existing DOJ. It is because he is worried about who Donald Trump will appoint to lead DOJ starting January 20th of next year. And don't forget that Trump has walked around for the last decade, if not, a little less, talking about the quote unquote Hunter, the Biden crime family, talking to his supporters about how he is their quote unquote vengeance, that he is going to weaponize the DOJ to go after those who went after him and his supporters. And so this is a very unprecedented moment that we're living in this country. I think that if it were George Bush or Mitt Romney or pick any Republican other than Donald Trump coming in to succeed Joe Biden, I'm not sure he would have made the decision. Maybe, but I'm not convinced. But I think he understands that with the nomination of Kash Patel to lead the FBI and the potential nomination of Pam Bondi to lead the Justice Department, prosecutors have an incredible ability, as do federal agents, to wreak havoc on somebody's life, even if they don't ultimately charge you with a crime. They could spend years investigating you into bankruptcy and obviously making your life a living hell. And I think that's the decision that Biden made.
So President-elect Trump has been out this morning asking Biden if he'll also pardon the January 6 offenders as well. And I suppose Biden has, in a way, opened himself up to questions like this now. How do you see this impacting on his legacy?
I mean, does anybody really believe with a straight face that somehow this impacts Donald Trump's behavior, that Donald Trump was not going to pardon whoever he wanted to pardon the second time around? Our newest ambassador to France is his father-in-law, or his son-in-law's father, Charlie Kushner, who went to prison for, among other things, setting up his own brother-in-law with a prostitute and sending that tape to his own sister in order to have her not cooperate into a federal investigation into Charlie Kushner. So, and that's something that Donald Trump pardoned him for on the way out the door the last time. So let's not pretend that Donald Trump is somehow some saint who is not going to abuse the pardon power. I shouldn't say abuse. He sadly has the ability to do that, as every president does, to use the pardon power to pardon January 6th criminals who are now sitting in prison for literally fomenting an insurrection of our government, and whoever else he wants to pardon him. And Trump misused the pardon power in every which way the last time he was around. And the reason he did that is because typically you go through a panel where you have recommendations on from pardon panels as to who to pardon. Trump just pardoned people. He didn't really ask anybody. He just did it. And he's, by the way, again, the Constitution allows him to do it. So I don't really want to hear from Republicans about how this is going to allow Trump now to go crazy and do whatever he wanted to do. Trump was going to do what he wanted to do regardless of what Joe Biden did today.
Well, we look forward to Pardon Fest 2025.
It's
Thanks
bizarre,
so much,
isn't it? Thank you. We'll see you soon.
US President Joe Biden is being slammed by both Republicans and Democrats today after pardoning his son Hunter over gun and tax charges, despite saying he wouldn't. Let's go live now to tonight's US correspondent Reed Butler in LA. Reed, well, this could leave a bit of a blemish on the president's legacy.
David, both sides of the aisle coming after Joe Biden over this decision, a decision which, you're right, could really taint his legacy going forward. Democrats fear that in pardoning his son Hunter, Joe Biden has handed a dangerous mandate to Donald Trump to do exactly the same kind of thing and further work to destabilise trust in the justice system, a system which has come under increasing attack from the president-elect Trump and his allies in recent years. As for Joe Biden, he says he hopes Americans will understand why he made this decision to spare his son from any punishment over those gun and tax crimes. But the problem is he repeatedly said he wouldn't do that. Now there are calls to overhaul the system so that presidents can't use these extraordinary powers to benefit their family members. Get to that in a moment, but first some reaction that has just come in from the First Lady Jill Biden. She's been asked about the pardoning at the White House.
Dr. Biden, what changed on the pardon for Hunter?
What other father in America has the power to pardon his son or daughter if they're convicted of a crime? I really think we have to revisit the pardon power in the Constitution.
Now, the president-elect Donald Trump is no stranger to pardoning family members himself. In 2020, he pardoned his son-in-law's father, Charles Kushner, over historical crimes. Charles Kushner, by the way, has just been appointed as the next US ambassador to France in the upcoming Trump administration. David?
You get a pardon. You get a pardon. Oh, thanks, Reed.